All right, welcome back, Sorare MLBers. Sheets all up to date through yesterday's games. I've got my starting pitcher ranks ready to go. I have a relief pitcher projection system, and we're also projecting hitters for this coming game weekend, game week 7. As always, I'll have a Patreon link in my show notes. If you're a Patreon paid member, you get access to our chat room. You can ask me questions directly, and of course, you get full access to the Google Sheet, so you can tailor my sheet to your lineups. You can sort by player name, go find projections for each player. Hitting projections update daily. Starting pitching projections update on Wednesdays and Sundays. And the relief pitching will update daily as well. $5 a month gets you full access. All right, let's get into game week 7, starting with the starting pitching. All right, top 2 projections are players that made their debuts last week. Nick Lodolo of Cincinnati and Edward Cabrera of Miami. Both just one start under their belts, but both look excellent. Both 10 Ks in their debut. Lodolo's a guy who looked really good 2 years ago, missed most of last year with injuries. He had his wipeout slider working against the White Sox. He's got a decent matchup this weekend, team that strikes out a little more than league average, 36.33 for Lodolo. Edward Cabrera, pretty neutral matchup here, but he also had a great first start, so his numbers are maybe a little inflated. 32.18 though. He's going to be one of your top picks this weekend. Freddie Peralta's been pitching like an ace for the Brewers. They get the Cardinals this week. Their lineup is not real solid, so 30.91. Sonny Gray gets the Brewers. He's been spectacular in 2 starts. 5 innings, no runs. 6 innings, no runs. 11 Ks in 11 innings. 30.3 per start so far. Pretty neutral matchup against the Brewers at home. 30.25 for Gray. Zach Gallen, I had some concerns about. He had a velocity drop to start the season. Even with the fastball down a couple ticks, he's been effective. 1.64 ERA in 4 starts. He's picked up 3 wins already for the D-backs. He is pitching in a great park this weekend against a team that strikes out a lot. Nice matchup for Gallen and a 28.64 as a projection. Jose Budo's been a big surprise for the Mets. 2 really good starts to start the season. He was kind of a fill-in, and he's done so well, he's going to stay in the rotation, at least for now. 15 Ks in 12 innings, very good. He's got a pretty neutral matchup this weekend, 27.97. Jose Barrios in Toronto started the year really strong, 1.05 ERA, excellent. Pitching in a great pitcher's park this weekend against a team that can hit a little bit, but still a 27.94, really nice projection for Barrios. Ronel Blanco's been one of the stories of the early season after pitching a no-hitter in his big league debut. He's picked up 2 wins for the Astros, 0.86 ERA, so just not giving up much at all, 29.7 per start. He's got a little tougher road this weekend, 27.91. Joe Ryan in Minnesota, really like this one. 3 starts for Ryan, 2.60 ERA, 24 Ks in just 17 innings, so really nice numbers for him. He gets Detroit this weekend at home. So the numbers all look good as far as the matchup goes, 26.96. And then your 10th guy here is going to be Aaron Savale in Tampa. He's off to a solid start. In 4 starts, he's picked up 2 wins, 26 Ks in 23 innings, 26.1 per start so far, 26.91. So what we look at for our starting pitchers, we look at their park factor. StatCast park factors, where 100 is average. Anything above 100 is considered a hitter's park. Anything below is considered a pitcher's park. We take this into consideration by adding a percentage point to the projection for each point above 100 and taking away a percentage point for each point below 100, depending on what park each player is pitching in or hitting in. We look at strikeouts. For each percentage point above league average strikeout rate, we will add a percentage point. For each tick below league strikeout rate, we will take away a percentage point. So this is just a bonus based on the lineup the pitcher is facing. OLF is the opposing lineup factor. We're looking at xwOBA for this. xwOBA is just a metric I like that takes into account how well a team is hitting the ball. I look at this as an entire team. So basically the league average is 321. For each 10 points above league average, I will add 1 percentage point. So when I look at an opposing lineup, for each 10 percentage points above that 321 mark, I will take 1 percentage point away from that pitcher's projection. And for each 10 points of WOBA below the league average, I will add a percentage point for that pitcher. So we have a points per start number based on past performance this season. And then we multiply by the park factor, by the strikeout factor, and by the opposing lineup factor, and that's how we get our projection. And of course, I do this for every starting pitcher, so if you subscribe to the Patreon and you get full access to the sheet, you'll be able to go through. You can find your players, find their projections for this week. You can actually sort. I can alphabetize the names, so it's easier to find your player, and you can just go down, find each player you need, and find your projection, figure out which one works best for your gallery. One of the things I've added recently has been my relief pitching tab here on my sheet. This updates every day. It tells you which relievers are scoring the most points per appearance, how many points overall they've scored this season, and then we come up with a projection here. Same factors as the starting pitchers, but of course with the relievers it's a little different. You get 5 points for each relief appearance. Relievers will not pitch all 3 days. The max of anybody pitching is going to be 2 times over a 3-day span or 3 times over a 4-day span. So for a weekend game week like this, I'm going to use 2 as my max appearances. How have they scored? So your closers obviously get points for saves. High strikeout relievers are always better than lower strikeout relievers. So looking at the total points, you can see Helsley way above the rest of the field right now. He's already appeared in 10 games and saved 7 of them. What I've done for my points calculation is I've removed wins because relief pitcher wins are very arbitrary. That's just skewing the data too much for me. You can't count on wins from relief pitchers. They just kind of happen, so it's kind of a bonus. But you want to know which guys are going to be your best options going into the weekend. Helsley, obviously a great option, but it looks like our max projection here was Suarez. His points per appearance has been better, and just his park factor, the opposing lineup he's facing, everything lines up a little bit better for him than it does for Helsley this weekend. 34.45. He's going to be your top projected reliever. Another way we can quantify all this is to take their max projection and multiply it by how many times they've appeared. It gives us a way to compare players based on their past performances while adding in all of our other factors. So what you can see here is Helsley ranks ahead of Foley and Suarez and Holmes, and that's basically based on the fact that he's appeared in more games. You have Ginkel has appeared in 9, but not been as effective as some of the players that appeared in 8. So it gives you a way to compare and contrast based on efficiency per appearance and the overall numbers. So if we do it this way, you can see that Helsley is going to be your top-ranked guy as he's appeared in 10 games with that average of 16.3. Got a neutral matchup. So his max projection was 32.27. But since he appears in so many games, he's got a 322. It's got a big gap down to Jason Foley, who's going to be your second-ranked relief pitcher. And obviously you can put starters in these spots. Sometimes starters have relief pitcher eligibility. Jordan Hicks has been very good. I think I have Hicks projected for about 24 points. If you want a more sure thing than starting a closer, you could pick up Hicks, throw him in your relief pitcher spot. Then you don't have to worry about getting a 0. You're going to get something. But of course, if he doesn't have a good outing, you only have the one shot at it. Whereas with your reliever, they could appear anytime. But you can see all these guys are closers. They all have saves on the record. That really helps the scoring. Helsley, Foley, Robert Suarez for San Diego, Holmes, Clase, Evan Phillips of the Dodgers, Ginkel for Arizona, Finnegan in Washington's been good, Craig Kimbrell and Edwin Diaz. But relief pitcher appearances are pretty fickle, so Helsley may be the best so far, but he may not appear all weekend. Maybe Diaz comes in and pitches twice. Kind of a crapshoot with relief pitchers. But anyway, here are your top 10 based on their performance so far this season, their park factors, their strikeout factors, and their opposing lineup factors. Again, if you had the Patreon subscription, you would be able to look at all of them. You can find cheap options, players that don't get saves. Top player that doesn't have a save on this list is Hunter Gaddis in Cleveland. Appeared in 9 games, averaging 9.8 points per game that he comes in. So a max projection for him of 21.5. That would be decent, and you can probably get him for $1. All good reasons to subscribe to that sheet. $5 a month. On to some hitters for you. Mookie Betts is red hot to start the season. 5 hits last night. He's hitting .388 on the year. That gives him 2.96 Sorare points per plate appearance and 4.8 plate appearances a game. Extrapolates out to 14.4 expected plate appearances over the weekend. Park factor's neutral. He's going against a little weaker pitching staff, but it doesn't really matter for Mookie because he hits everybody. 43 for a projection for him. Marcell Ozuna in Atlanta, also red hot to start the year. 4.5 plate appearances a game. 2.99 per plate appearance for him, so even a little better than Betts, which is crazy. He's got a good park this weekend. 41.1. William Contreras in Milwaukee. He's a catcher, but he does DH when he's not catching, so I think you can expect him to play every day. He hasn't really sat all season. He's at 2.67 per plate appearance, 4.75. Good park, good pitching staff to hit against, 38.8. Yelich is injured, so you're going to want to avoid him. Spencer Steer in Cincinnati, also off to a great start. Well, all these guys are. 2.82 per plate appearance, 4.29 plate appearances a game. 37.8 for Steer. Bobby Witt in Kansas City. Playing at home in Kansas City is a good thing for him. He's a good guy to add just because he plays half his games in such a good hitter's park. 35.8 for Witt. Lourdes Gurriel, way over his skis probably. He's not quite this good, but he's off to a great start. He's hot. Those are the guys you want. 34.7 this weekend for Gurriel. Ozzie Albies goes home to Atlanta. He's off to a great start. In this potent Atlanta offense, he's going to get a lot of plate appearances, so he's always rosterable, 34.7. Mike Trout looks great. LA plays in a good hitter's park this weekend, 34.3. Tyler O'Neill, unfortunately, left part of his face on the back of Rafael Devers' head. They collided while he was trying to make a catch. He had sunglasses on. They tore up his forehead. He had to get 8 stitches. So he missed half of that game, and then he missed yesterday's game. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's out a little while he recovers from this. So probably want to avoid O'Neill unless you see him back in the lineup today or tomorrow. And then Gunnar Henderson in Baltimore is hitting well. They're actually playing in Kansas City, so good hitter's park, 34.3 for Gunnar. And as I've said a million times, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you can sort these. Easiest way to do it is just to sort them by name. So column A, just alphabetize everybody, helps you run through, find your players, find their projections, and help you build those teams. All right, well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here for some Game Week 8 prep.